and I'm a member of I'm an executive at the Weston Village Residents Association, and I've lived in Weston for about 25 years now, which surprises me more than anybody. I still feel like a newbie. But I took on this initiative because I know that crime and safety is a real concern in our community, and I thought, well, maybe there's something that we as a residents association could do, provide some leadership, and really inspire and empower folks like you who can bring their own ideas, their own energy to the table and help to make a difference. So we've got a lot of content we're going to cover. I think we're going to move pretty quickly, but I want to start by thanking you for being here. In a moment I will introduce our key speakers, and I will introduce Councillor Nunziata to welcome you. In fact, I'll do that right now. So our key speakers today will be, in what order, guys? Who's speaking order? Sean. We're going to start with Sean O'Neill with Crime Stoppers, and then Mark with Crime Stoppers, and then Arjinder Gill with Crime Prevention. We're also very happy to have Alex, your local neighborhood community officer, with us today. If you don't know him and the three other officers, please make a point of it. We'll talk a bit about that. We actually have a board member from Crime Stoppers here. What was your name?
Spina Martino.
Spina?
Pina
Martino. Thank you for being here. And with that, I would like to welcome you, because just by being here, you're showing us that you want to be part of the solution. So thank you for that. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Councillor Nunziata.
Thank you, and thank you to Jason. Jason has been very active as the Residents Association. We've had a number of meetings with tenants at 1901 Western Road and 5 Bellevue when we talked about Crime Stoppers, and we had a lot of interest from tenants. But we wanted to have this meeting tonight so you can hear from Crime Stoppers on their program and what they can offer for the community. Safety is very important to all of us. And especially to me, because when I come down and I see what's happening in my ward, it's important that we are, we look up for each other, that we work together as a community. Now, years ago, and I know it's not the same, but I'm going to mention it. Remember years ago, how many people remember Neighborhood Watch? Right. Remember, and that, yeah. So, but Crime Stoppers is not identical as Neighborhood Watch, but with Neighborhood Watch, as you know, we watched out for each other. We watched for neighbors. If your neighbor was on vacation and suddenly there was a van in the driveway emptying their TV sets and their furniture, well, they're on vacation, so something's wrong. So you call 911, right? So it's similar to that, but it's a little different now. And I know that program was eliminated years ago. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the presentation, and I want to thank everyone from Crime Stoppers for being here, and thank Toronto Police Services as well for being in this neighborhood. Just to let you know as well, we're putting a security camera at Weston and Lawrence. The police are going to install a security camera, and we're working on that. And so when that happens, I'll let everybody know that that's what we're working on. So thank you. And Pina, I've known Pina for many years, what, 30 years? Or at least 30 years, Pina. And I had no idea that Pina was with Crime Stoppers. And you're the treasurer. Yes. The treasurer. So you look after all the money, right? Sort of. Well, thank you, Pina. It was nice to see you again. And thank you to everyone. It's great to have everyone participate in tonight's meeting. And there will be ongoing meetings and dialogue. And I hope that everyone signed in at the back of the room, because we want to keep everybody informed and updated as we progress. So thank you, and I'll pass it on to Crime Stoppers.
I'm going to just jump in and do two quick things of housekeeping. First of all, there are washrooms in the other room in the back. And the second thing is, you're going to see a brochure on your chairs. You are in the York West Active Living Center right now, which is a 55-plus community center. They have graciously allowed us to use their space. Does everybody know what York West Active Living Center is about? Yeah. It is a phenomenal organization. I truly believe it is a gem in our community for a very, very low membership fee, which I think is like $30 a year. Then you pay a little small amount for the different programs. They have an amazing assortment of programs, everything from languages to arts and crafts to fitness classes. There's a gym in the back over there. They have personal trainers here. It is truly an amazing organization, and if you hit 55 plus, which I just did, it is definitely a place to keep an eye on. It's a gem in our community and a real resource for a lot of people. So thank you to them for allowing us to be here. The perspective I want to share with you on why we're talking about safety is that the odds of being a victim of crime in Toronto in any given year is about 3%. You could include property crime, violent crime. It's only about 3% that you chance in any given year. However, when we feel like our environment is not safe, when we feel like there's a criminal element, when we feel guarded and that we always have to look over our shoulders, then we all become victims of crime. So that number jumps to 100%. So today's theme, certainly what you're going to hear from the WVRA, is a theme of creating safety as a way to combat crime. We believe that community is the kryptonite to the criminal element. So the more we engage with I used to be a marketer, by the way, so you can't tell. So I kind of had a thing for Superman too. But anyways, when there is community being built, when people know each other by name, when they're not afraid to look each other in the eye, when they're participating in events, when they feel like they're surrounded by people who care about that place, it is a powerful deterrent to the criminal element. They pick it up real fast when it's not there. When they see people walking up and down Weston Road, their eyes down, keeping to themselves, they know it's their place to take charge of. So when that energy of a sense of community, that we care about each other, is there, it is kryptonite to criminals. Those are the themes that guide the WVRA's participation. That's why we host and participate and facilitate a lot of events in our community, and we hope that you'll be a part of that. But with that, I'm going to turn over to the gentleman. We're going to talk about Crime Stoppers. We're going to talk about crime prevention tips. There's a great table of resources and information there. Take as much as you need, share it with neighbors and friends and family. And then Dave and I will talk briefly about how do you land this information, how do you really put it into action in our community. And then we might have, if there's time, we'll have a quick little breakouts just to hear what you are thinking, just in small little groups, maybe just split the room in half, find out what you guys are thinking and what ideas you might have and what idea you might want to take back with you and try with your neighbors, okay? So with that, and anybody has any questions, these gentlemen have agreed to stick around at the end. Councillor will be here as well. That is a perfect time to meet with them and ask your question directly. We do have a thick content, so we're going to move really fast, and bear with us on that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mark and Sean. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Councillor Nunziata, good afternoon, residents, organizers. Thanks for having us. And also everyone that's here today, Pina, thank you for coming out and joining us. Just in terms of Crime Stoppers, our chair is not here, but he has a saying, community safety is truly a shared responsibility. And that goes to show how much you care about your community. We're all here. If you think of this program and what we're about to share with you, it's about collaboration, it's about partnerships, it's about taking ownership of our community to make it safe that we can enjoy, live, play, worship, do whatever it is that we need to feel safe in our community. Sean will go through some of the slides on there. As Jason mentioned, if you have questions after, I know sometimes in a bigger forum, someone might be afraid to ask a question. By all means, if it's not after, you can always call us, get a hold of us. We will take the time to explain the program and walk you through what we do on a day-to-day basis. I always say, Crime Stoppers, our goal is to amplify the voices of the community. So the information that comes from you, it's our job to share that, not just with our policing partners, our policing agencies, but our policing partners as well. So it might be an agency within the community, but we'll have Sean go through some of this with you. and hope you enjoy the presentation.
So good evening, everyone. Good evening, Councillor. My name is Sean O'Neill, just like Mark just said. We're just going to have a presentation about Crime Stalkers. It's just like a Crime Stalkers 101. Nice, light, some engagement, right? We'll make it fun. We've all had like a long day, right? So we're going to start off. What exactly is Crime Stalkers? Does anybody know? There's a prize if you participate. Come on. Okay, so what we are is basically anonymous reporting platform on criminality. In fact, we actually get a lot of tips, which I'll show you in a couple slides, not just on criminality. And we work in conjunction with different agencies, other Crime Stalkers around the world, and also the policing partner of Toronto Police Service. Does anybody know what kind of tips we get? Come on.
Come on, let's
Give me
have
a guess.
some volunteers
What's that?
here.
Well, anonymous, yeah, but what kind of tips do we get? Like what kinds? Yep. Yeah, car stealing, you ready? You wanna catch a ball? See, there's prizes. Now we're gonna have participation. What about you back there?
Your flyer says you get things like homicides, drugs.
Oh, see, someone studied a bit. There you go. So yes, so we do receive any kind of tip you can imagine, from explosives to shootings to intimate partner violence, everything you can imagine we get. So we do have a call center. It's totally separate from the call center that Toronto Police has. They're located in the north of Toronto. Wait times, only maybe a minute to 2 minutes tops. And again, it's completely anonymous. You'll see it in the presentation. So, the history of Crime Stoppers. Now, I'm looking around the room, and all of us remember this time. It's 1976. I was born in 74. And this was before cell phones, before the internet, and before the personal home computer. In 1976, that's when it all began in the little town of Albuquerque, New Mexico. A gas station robbery was taking place, and during that robbery, unfortunately, the employee was also killed. Now, Albuquerque police put Detective McAleese on the case, who, by the way, is Canadian-born, right? So hurrah for us. And so what happened is after 3 weeks, he had no leads, none at all, in solving that case. So he came up with an idea, and that idea was to do a reenactment, broadcast it on television, and put up a monetary reward for information leading to that incident. So sure enough, 72 hours later, boom, the individuals were arrested, and that was the birth of Crime Stoppers. Today, there's over 1,700 programs worldwide. Each one of them is partnered up with their own police service. Now, just like on the map here, you can see how we have Toronto Crime Stoppers, Halton has their own, Peel, etc. The reason why that is because this way we can work with the police service and find out the crime trends, create educational awareness campaigns, and hopefully bring down or reduce the crime in the area. So the history of Toronto Crime Stoppers, that's a bit different. It began in 1984, that was the year. So I was 12, oh no, 10, wow. But a couple big things happened. The first Apple Macintosh computer came out, retail value of $2,500. Also, the original Ghostbuster movie, right? Everybody remembers that? And who could forget the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Come on, look how cute he is. Seriously, like watch, look how cute he is, right? Isn't he cute? So, the year was 1984. That was when the Toronto Crime Stoppers began. It's a separate entity of the Toronto Police Service. It's a completely separate. And I'll show you in the next slide just how that is. And it's a non-profit organization. And it's not government funded, so it receives no funding at all. It relies heavily on 2 charity events that they hold every year. That's the Crime Stoppers Chief of Police Dinner, which was held in May, which is the major fundraiser for us, as well as the Toronto Crime Stoppers Golf Tournament in August. And yes, tickets are still available if you're into playing. So, our team inside Toronto Police Headquarters is Daniela Lipa, who can be here tonight. She's the admin. Myself, I'm the Community Engagement and Social Media Officer, as well as Detective Madramudu, who's the coordinator of the program, and we do get along. So, the Toronto Crime Stoppers Board, as Jason mentioned and Mark mentioned, Pina Martino is here tonight. She's the treasurer on the Crime Stoppers Board. I don't know if you want to say something or just. I'm doing so well. All right. So like I mentioned, Crime Stoppers is a complete separate entity of the Toronto Police Service. So to the point that has its own board as well as bylaws. So they're in charge of monthly meetings, approving community partnership rewards, raising funds for the program, and most of all, increasing awareness about the program itself. So that's going out into the community, attending the presentations, going out to the booths and so forth, like Taste of the Kingsway, for example, that's coming up in September. And you'll see us all around the place. And some of you, whoever went to Toronto Police Service 12 Division Open House on Saturday, the previous Saturday, we were there as well. So, the partnership of Toronto Crime Stoppers is based upon three principles. That is the community, working with the police, and utilizing media. As we all know, through partnership, through collaboration, we can make change. No matter what the situation is, when we work together as a community, we can make change happen. But if we don't work with, like, let's say the community doesn't work with the police, well, the police can deploy assets to, let's just say, I don't know, Keele and Wilson area. So they increased police presence up there, patrolling and so forth. But if the community's not speaking up and saying, no, we need some more attention to, I don't want to pick this division, I love this division, used to be part of 31.
12 division is the best.
Yes, 12 division. So let's pick Steeles and Islington, where the problems are happening. Well, the police won't know, so that means the crime's still going to go in that area without the participation. And of course, utilizing the media and social media to create awareness, come up with safety tips, such as how to protect your vehicle and so forth. If we're not utilizing that leverage, being that we're all pretty much on that platform now, change is going to be very slow, if not at all. So just taking a look at some stats here. So in 2023, we just had 7,000 tips. So that's tips, voices from the community that came in saying, hey, I know about this situation, or I think I saw the person, or content related to a possible shooting, or I think the neighbor down the street is dealing drugs. Here's the address, here's the suspect information. Now, the one thing that you will see underneath, hopefully, is there's 15,000 follow-ups. What that is the communication with the tipster. So when you submit your tip to Crime Stoppers, you get a tip ID and password. That tip ID and password, you need to write it on a piece of paper or put it in your phone somewhere, save it, remember where that piece of paper is if you did write it out, because later on, that's going to be your key. That's going to be your key to find out if there's additional questions that we sent back. But I don't want to jump ahead. We will go over the tip submission process and what that looks like. Last year also, there's 30 firearms seized off the streets just from a tip that led officers in the right path to get 30 guns off of our streets. Also recovered 42 vehicles worth over $2.5 million. As you can see in the news lately, the shipping containers and the different ports that we have in this country, we have an ongoing problem. We are planning to do more of a auto theft campaign. That's going to be coming up soon. So watch the news. Usually CP24 shows it on this, but we do have other partners like Global TV, etc. So we're going to bring more awareness about that, more tips on how to keep your vehicle safe and in your driveway. So does anybody know the difference when you report to Toronto Police or Police Service versus Crime Stoppers? There's a long
Time on the line.
Okay, the timeline, I'll accept that, Here you go. Oops. What else? Anonymous, right? Very good, very good. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay, all right. So the big thing is that when you phone in Toronto Police Service or any 911 or non-emergency line for the police, everything's being recorded. You usually want to identify yourself, and that could lead down the road to court, which will actually be submitted into the body of the court. Then all of a sudden the accused knows who phoned, or can recognize the voice over the recording, and then there could be reprisal. With Crime Stoppers, it's completely anonymous. So when you call when you call our line, which is 416-222-8477, what happens? There's no call display on our end. There is no recording. You will not be asked any of your personal identifiers, no email, your first name, last name, date of birth, nothing of that nature at all. And when you submit information online as well, completely anonymous again. You will not be able to put, there's no fields on the form that ask that information. Now, some of you have mentioned, well, this is the first time presenting you, but some other presentations I've done, they've asked, what about the IP address? Certain situations, we can track the IP address, but there's a process in place. So if it's an exigent circumstance where someone's threatening to blow up a structure, let's just say downtown core, in that situation, we contact P3, which is the program that houses the Crime Stoppers program and processing. They will take a look at it, they'll provide the IP address for us, and then we forward it on to our policing service partner, intelligence group, and they will start the ball rolling. In the meantime, we'll get police there just as precautionary and hopefully find where this threat came through. Understand? Very good? All right. So how it all works is very simple. So you're going to call or go to our website, submit the information. So like I mentioned, it's completely anonymous. You're going to get a tip ID and password. Save that on a piece of paper. Remember that paper, where that piece of paper is. Put it in your phone somewhere because you're going to need it later on, and I'm going to show you. So you just submitted the information. It gets sanitized by us. So it goes to our office. We have a detective, myself, and as well as Daniela. We take a look at the content. We're looking for risk factors. Anything that can identify you, or maybe you accidentally put your name, like some of us, when we write a letter or email, letter. I remember those days, cursive. But, you know, if you might sign off your name or something like that, we'll take a look at the content. And then if there's a risk too high, we'll send back questions confirming that the risk to your safety is too high, your anonymity or your personal safety. If it is too high, and we've had that conversation, we'll shut it down altogether. Why? Because Crime Stoppers is in the business of keeping you anonymous. That is the top goal of this program. So once the information's been reviewed and sanitized, we're going to send back questions to you, and that's where the tip ID password comes in again to you. The one that once you submit it, you got that little tip ID and password, you go to our website, 222tips.com, which I'll show you later. And then you key in those, and then you'll see all the questions that we're asking back to you. So you can imagine, some people might say there's a drug dealer at Islington and Steeles. Send. It's very vague. A lot of people come and go in through that intersection. There's no descriptors, not time of day, what kind of drugs or anything of that nature. So we're going to send back those questions to you, asking, you know, can you provide a suspect description? Do you know their social media? Is there a vehicle associated to them? Do they have a gun? Is there a vehicle associated to them? And so forth. We're going to try and get as much clarity as we can get. So when we pass it on to our policing partners, usually a division and a specialized unit like Drug Squad in this case, at least they have a little bit more bite to the tip. They got a little bit more lead, they know what they're looking for, what time of day, etc. Yep.
If you're not computer literate or you don't have a computer.
No problem. So we do have the phone call. You can phone us at 1-800-222-8477. We are available in over 200 languages as well. So we have that capability of, you know, we do have some newcomers or individuals that are not too sure about the English. That's no longer a barrier with our service. So the tip gets passed on, we've sanitized it, we sent back questions, and then we send it off to a specialized unit or a division, and they will speak to one another to decide who's going to be the carriage of the actual tip. So who's going to start the investigation and move forward with it. Hopefully it leads to an arrest. And then, the old way of doing things was that we would pay out a reward to the tipster. So what's changed with us is that we put money towards, whoa, what happened we put money towards a community reward program. So what that is basically in 2020, the Crime Stoppers Board came up with an idea, let's hire a marketing company and look back the last 10 years to see how much tip money was actually, reward tip money, was actually being picked up. Does anybody know approximately how much you would think? 10%? A little higher? Yeah? All right. So the number was actually 17%. So that told the Crime Stoppers Board, right, Peanut? That, you know what? A lot of people were submitting tips for the greater good. Because they were like, just like Jason's doing, organizing movements, creating a safer place for everyone. You know, people were utilizing the Crime Stoppers platform to reduce the crime, to get it out of their neighborhood. And the beauty thing about Crime Stoppers is that, let's say you went to London, Ontario for the day. You saw something going on there. You can submit it still when you come back home that evening. We will make sure it gets sent over to London Crime Stoppers. So it's no longer boundaries or anything of that nature saying you have to submit it when you're in that city. We will make sure it gets sent over there. So back to the community reward program. So because only 17% was ever being picked up, they decided to put money towards that program for education and awareness campaigns for the greater good. So here's some examples. Well, first of all, this is the website here, 222tips.com. So if you can come up with an idea for crime prevention or education-based programs, you can submit it to us by scrolling down, click on the blue rectangle, and this is the form here, very short, to the point. Someone in the office or even a board member will reach out to you for further clarification. So let's say, for example, 31 Division came up with an idea of doing a seniors program, bringing them up to speed about the current frauds in the area. So they were going around to different places inside 31 Division, creating awareness, creating more of a community by bringing people together just like tonight. And that program is called Word to the Wise. The next program is the Melbourne Avenue Parquet Revitalization. Pina was there. So what that was a parquet that was overrun by graffiti. The garden was in disarray, and the community wasn't utilizing that park because of the state it was. So these two fine officers, neighborhood officers, came up with the idea of approaching Crime Stoppers and saying, hey, can you help us out here? We believe that we can take back the park. So sure enough, we hired an artist to do a beautiful mural in the back. Another partner came in with topsoil to create a garden, a community garden. So anyone that needs vegetables and so forth, you come there, you do a little gardening, you take some vegetables home. It's just boosting, creating a spot in the community where people come together, the way it should be for a park. And the other one is the Community Street Sign Project. That's been concluded, but you can see the size here. So we have Mark, we have Sean sporting the chair, and Superintendent Papazuski, she's over at 42 now. But this is the sign here. You can see it's very large, and there it is up on the street post. So the one thing I want to make clear is that it's not to replace the neighborhood watch. The difference with our sign is that, you know, as the chair would say, we have a call to action. So if you see something, you can give us a call at 416-222-8477 to report it anonymously. Another couple campaigns we've done was a firearm campaign that was done last summer, as well as a hate crime campaign, which we did just a month or 2 months ago. And of course, the organized retail, it costs us all. To bring awareness about the organized crime that's taking place in our retailers, such as the smash and grabs, or individuals creating shopping lists and then going to a store to get one targeted item and get it out of there and retail, sell it again. So I don't think you'll be able to hear this. So this is one of the commercials that we create at Crime Stoppers. Not us create, but we hire a marketing company. So in this situation here, is to bring awareness about organized retail crime, about how it's affecting the price of everything. As you know, the retailers will have to recover their costs on theft. And so in this case, the prices keep going up as the customers trying to check in. 72 hours, does anybody know what that means? And no, it's not 48 hours of TV show. So 72 hours is usually, so you submitted a tip, the first 72 hours, you gotta check back. Check back, sign into our website or call our call center again, give your tip ID, and then you'll be able to get an update as to see if there's any questions that we sent back to you. We find that the first 72 hours is the highest chance of getting that correspondence, the follow-ups we call it, with the community member that's trying to reach out and voice their concern. So this is an example here of our website, 222tips.com. You click here to follow up on existing report. And then we type in the tip ID, the password. And I apologize for the keystrokes for the password, it's a little bit slow. Come on, Jeff. Come on. Come on. All right. So as you can see, the tip just pulled up, and then you scroll all the way down, and here's the questions that we sent back to you, the tipster. And then you have the capability of typing in this square here, this rectangle here, to answer those questions, and then you just press submit again. So you can check back as often as you want, as many times as you want. It's not just, you only have three logins and that's it. As long as you have that tip ID and password, you can keep coming and going into that tip and looking for any updates, or in some cases, we'll tell you to give us a call at the office if we have additional questions and if you want to speak directly to a police officer. So non-actionable tips: if you're a victim, material witness, or identify yourself, we cannot process the tip. Why? Because victim, you need to go to the police. They need to start up a report. Often they need a complaint to start the investigation. Material witness, you're a crucial part of the case. So without you, that case will fall apart. So they really need to talk to you. We would talk to you first, if you'd like, as to why you should possibly come forward to the police and identify yourself. In some cases, we do get tips where they may say, I live in such and such building, up on the top floor, there's only, as soon as you come off the elevator, there's only 2 apartments, I'm the one at the end, so the apartment in between is the drug dealers, the human trafficking person as well. Well, that's identifying yourself. So we're looking for identifiers, right? And that's where we start to slow things down, even though we would love to pass it on to the police to investigate, but if it's putting you at risk, you stop. You stop it right there. You cannot be suspected in providing the information. And again, if the risk factor is too high, you really have to stop. We're just not going to delete the tip or just close it off and not reply back to you. We'll give you some advice as to what you can do. What's your options in proceeding forward? Maybe it's contacting your local crime prevention officer, speaking to your neighborhood officer. Maybe it's attending the police station in some cases. Or if it's homicide related, we'd actually get you in touch with the homicide investigators after we have a conversation first to ensure you that, you know, you're losing your anonymity by coming forward. So your anonymity is guaranteed. So which means to us, if we've taken our time, we've sanitized the information, we've looked at all the risk factors, we're satisfied. The only person that will know you submitted a tip is you, the tipster. That's it. So when you submit information to Crime Stoppers, keep it to yourself. Don't nudge, wink, wink your neighbor next morning, say, hey, I use the Crime Stoppers platform on Jim down the street that's drug dealing. No. Keep it to yourself. This way we know that you're going to be safe. You know you're going to be safe. Because who's to say that your neighbor's not just good friends with Jim down the street? You don't know, right? Anything you want to add?
Just to add into what Sean, I always say, when a tip is provided from the community, we will never risk someone's life for the sake of an arrest or to lay a charge. We really take safety as paramount. So when Sean mentioned to you, you submit a tip, don't share that information with anyone. It stays with you, it stays with us. We really take, we place a high value on that. Couple of things that we often see, even from courts. The courts will go through, a case will go through, and defense will put a motion forward to get disclosure regarding information sent. Trust me, I've processed a myriad of those applications. By the time they get it, it's all blacked out. If you qualify, and this was Sean was mentioning, if you qualify for the program, and qualifying means you're not a victim, you're not a material witness, you're not a suspect, you're not providing information that's going to identify yourself or cause harm to your property, you qualify for the program. That full anonymity is guaranteed. If there are risk factors that exist in that tip, as Sean mentioned, you made the mistake of saying, my neighbor next door is dealing drugs, I am so-and-so, we will write back to you. We will correspond with you. You had a question about if I don't have a computer. Our call takers will explain the disclosure process and disclaimer process to you, and anonymity process as well. We don't want to jeopardize your safety at all. The information coming in, if it wasn't mentioned before, but the information coming in is meant to be a lead. It's meant to give our investigators the direction. They could be investigating an investigation in this area, but with your information, it might port them in another direction. It's not meant to be evidence-based. So I always tell people, they're like, okay, well, Crime Stoppers, is it really anonymous? It's like buying a car, right? If we don't test drive it, we're not gonna know. So I encourage you, police officers are not there 24/7. You and I, we're all citizens, we're all patrons, we're all community members. We know if we feel something, we see something, I always tell residents, you live in your community. Something feels hinky, send it in. The officers are there 24/7, it's for them to show up. The information coming into this program, Sean explained it, TPS, Crime Stoppers. It's no different than you picking up the phone. The counselor had mentioned Neighborhood Watch. No different than you picking up the phone to call the non-emergency or the emergency line to get a call taker with TPS. Okay, what's the problem? They're gonna take that information, what they're gonna do? They're gonna dispatch it to a division for an officer to go do what? Constellation of factors. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. They have to start an investigation. How is it different with this? So Sean had mentioned, we want as much information as we can get. Remember that. You're submitting a tip, who, what, where, when, why, and how, in addition to if there's information about weapons. Because we care about our officers, we care about our fellow residents. If there are weapons or things that can cause harm, we want to know about that. So we're best prepared to deal with that situation. The other area that Sean had mentioned, as it goes through that tip processing model, it's not all about arrests or charges. Sean had mentioned, you see the different call types that we deal with. From a minor theft, it could be to terrorism, right across the board. In some instances, it may not be a policing matter. It may be just a referral to a community agency. Maybe it's someone just venting. We looked at the volume of information that's coming in. I can tell you, I just looked at it today. We're anywhere between reviewing tips per day, so 3 people, between 70 to 80 tips per day. It's a lot of content. We don't have the privilege of saying that's garbage. And I give you the example. My first year in this program, a tip came in, Sean mentioned, reported to London. The tip was for another jurisdiction. I'm dealing with a Toronto issue. Something tells me, I finished that issue, something tells me to go back into this tip. I look at it, review it, the first 3 paragraphs, complete garbage. Couldn't understand it. The 4th paragraph had 1 line one line that caught my attention. I went up and I read it 3 times. I decided to call that jurisdiction because it wasn't sitting right. After 21 years of policing, you start getting a little bit of experience comes in. So I decided to call the dispatcher in that jurisdiction, end up speaking to the staff sergeant, and I said, based on what I see, and this is what we do, we take it we're passionate about what we do. Again, we amplify your voices. Said, this is what I feel, send the car out at this time, fast forward, come back in on the Monday, call that jurisdiction. Hey, what happened with that information? I know it's not Toronto's. The officer said, thank goodness you guys acted the way you did. It actually saved a life. So again, information's coming in. I'll leave it to you to believe in the program. You can see the numbers that Sean shared earlier in terms of the stats. From 1984, I don't think we had that one up there, but the amount of tips is over 190,000 tips that this program has received. But it works. We talked about us amplifying your voices, trending. You can see last year with the firearms, we know there's a lot of vehicle thefts. We see those numbers increasing. That tells us you are listening, you are trusting, we have a little bit of synergy. What did I start off by saying at the beginning? Collaboration and partnerships. If you're not active, you don't trust, you don't take the time to share, we're gonna see a different result or outcome on the outside.
How do I follow up when I share? So, I call you up anonymously, saw a car stolen, you know, you're on that gun, you're gonna consider forwarding it to the police and all that. How do I know if my tip was accurate?
So that's called a disposition. You're checking the disposition as to the results
Right.
that you reported.
Right.
What we tell our users, in some cases, some of the information you can act on right away. Some of the information is a nice to know. We like to give our investigators a minimum of 60 days to at least review and look and build a case. You have a couple of options. Sean mentioned you can go back into the website. Every time you call in or you submit an online tip, you'll be given a tip number and an ID. You can log back in with that ID and password, and they may have some follow-up questions, or you can call in to our call center. They'll put you through us on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can speak to one of our members, and we will give you an update as to what transpired with that investigation, if there was a disposition. If a disposition was not received, we'll reach out to the divisions or the support unit to find out what's going on, to have an answer in that regard.
So it's not really something to be used to stop a crime, it's to get somebody arrested for a crime.
So my suggestion is, if it's a crime in progress, the police needs to be involved, especially if someone needs help. If it's exigent, you gotta call 911. As Sean mentioned, you call 911, it's recorded, you may ask your name, ID may show up. That may lead, if it goes to an investigation, you may be called as a witness to court, et cetera, et cetera. In some instances, people get confused. We have had the opportunities where we have gotten information where we need to action right away. Our call center monitors our dashboard 24/7. We're not always working. We like to sleep sometimes, spend time with our families. But if we're there and we see something by mistake, it comes through, we will action it. We have the ability, for example, a missing person was located or seen this morning at the corner right here. We can dispatch that out to get a car out there immediately. Right? So in some cases it works in that regard, but if it's exigent and someone needs help, you gotta call 911. And we will tell you that. If in instances where you don't qualify to utilize the program, we won't just leave it. We will let you know. You are a victim, here are some options. We're not just gonna leave you hanging, right? You're a material witness, here are some options. We have that communication with you, right? And that dialogue. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So out of all the tips, you mentioned 7,000 and 20,000
Okay, so out of those tips, what are the arrests? What's the number of arrests?
Actually, we're up to 100 and, yeah. So the arrests and charges, and this is something on stats. You know, a lot of people like stats. And I say it goes with the territory. Like you can see last year, there was 106 arrests. Year before, 202. Again, charges laid, and it all depends on the investigation. Again, in all this, the follow-ups, remember why people are utilizing the platform. It's not all about arrests and charges, right? Some people call, we have referrals. It could be an animal complaint that we've sent animal services out to go deal with that issue. That's not gonna show up in the stats. So a lot of what is done, sometimes are not even measured by the metrics, right? So again, it's communication. I think the important thing is for this program, and why I love this program, and I can tell you I've had the experience, and I worked many years on the other side of it, dealing with a lot of confidential informants of the service. The only difference is a confidential informant, someone knows who you are. With Crime Stoppers, it's anonymous. We don't know who you are. If you were to call in and someone says, what's your name, what's your address, hang up the phone. Nobody should be asking you that. Do not identify yourself. You're not obliged to. Sean talked about the community reward program. That is set up so that we can go out, we can create crime prevention and awareness opportunities to educate, no different than this. Educate our public. All the training that we provide currently, the information that you're receiving, we go to all the new recruit classes, every recruit class that comes out, so that they will have it. So it's consistent within the community. We create that synergy.
I think there was one more question on the front here.
I've got one here and one at the back.
Oh, okay.
I actually got two.
Two.
You said when people identify themselves, you sort of throw them in the door. Do you invite them to resubmit without an identification?
We will leave that up to the tipster. Each tip that comes in, we treat independently.
And so you said
So you could've-
we can't use this because you've identified where you live.
Right, we would have some form of communication to say the reasons why that information will not be passed on. And especially if it's a safety issue, we'll spell that out. It's a safety issue, here are the reasons why. That doesn't mean that you can't submit the tip without, right? You can submit another tip on your own merit.
Second one was on you had a screenshot of the phone where it says attachments. So, but today's day and age, very easy to take a picture of somebody.
That's right.
You can upload a picture of somebody without knowing their ID, is that correct?
That's right. So with our attachments, and we're in the days of technology. In some instances, we're very careful with using attachments and videos, because in some instances you can become a material witness, or you are a material witness. We would spell that out again. We would reference and encourage that person to contact an investigator or file a report. In some instances, if it's a public area, we would make sure that the investigator, again, tip information is meant to be a lead, not evidence-based. So we don't want that information going in. Having a video or attachment or a photo is great. Sean give you the example of someone, let's say they're going to go up to CN Tower and they have a video or images in there. We would want to see that. It's good to have that. It's a clue. Having videos and attachment also helps our investigators to let them know that there's still information up there. Maybe they need to recanvass. Maybe they need to change the direction. Again, the tip is meant to be what? A lead. You need to change the direction of your investigation. Recanvass. We will entertain with that person if they want to become a witness, if they want to speak to an investigator, and we would create that relationship with those two so that they can move forward. We had one at the back. So they're busy. Councillor?
Yeah, just a question on the rewards program.
Yes.
So if this community wanted to access that rewards program and like the
Yes.
pictures and stuff, how do we do that as a community here?
So the reward application, what we like to do, we like to encourage a partnership with the divisions as well. So if you go through the NCO officers, you can let them know because it shows partnership and collaboration. So you know what, we're thinking about this idea, no different than 31 Division, no different than 14 Division. What they do, meet with them, they will help guide that process. I know Pina's working on a few of them.
Yeah. It is a funding program, just to be clear, and it is our donations that we receive as a charity that goes to fund the program. So we do like to have the application for funding to come with recommendations from your neighborhood officer so that we know that you've chatted with them. But it could be anything from, as you've seen, a revitalization of a parkette. We've also invested in a homework after-school program where someone had just set up something in the basement of an apartment building where it was a place for children to go after school if they don't have after-school care. It was a place for them to go rather than perhaps somewhere else. So we would like to see those applications come in collaboration with your neighborhood community officers that you've talked about it, because we like to get their input as well. But the actual application can be made through our website. We have the community reward, and it's reviewed by our executive or board. And as I said, it's an ongoing conversation. It's usually a one year funding at a time, but you can submit in multiple years. But we do really encourage folks to use that program.
And to give you the idea, the change, historically, it was an individual who would be the sole benefactor. This community reward, it's the whole community benefit. I don't know, how many remember the two young sisters that were shot in Scarborough many years ago? So Crime Stoppers was very helpful in finding the second suspect. And as Pina was mentioning, what this community reward program did was go into that community, that parkette, with the partners. We're able to refurbish that little parkette, make it inviting to the residents there. We took a negative situation, made it a positive situation, educated the residents there, made it a welcoming environment. We got it was hero sweatshirts for all the young children. We brought lunch to the community, and again, information sharing. They want, as Jason mentioned, we want to own the community. You want to own your community. So that's what we did. We took a negative situation, made it a positive situation.
So, I know there's probably more questions, and maybe we can take one more question. But if anybody else has questions, I'd ask you to hold them later, and then we'll have time to, we just have lots of content, so. But we got one more question.
Okay, no problem.
Okay,
We're almost done.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, just for the core purposes, like I said, if you qualify for the program and it goes through, I can tell you the amount of tips, as you can see how many guns, how many homicides were solved. You qualify the program, there's no testifying because we don't know who you are. Quite frankly, if we see tips that come in with a name or a contact or any information like that, I don't want to know who you are. I like having that ability to not have to go to court to say, you know what, I don't know this person. Again, the onus is on you. If you put your hand up to say, you know what, I provide a Crime Stoppers tip, you're giving up your right to privilege, right? Then we can't protect you at the end of the day. So it really remains with you and us as we process that information.
Thanks, Mark. So we're almost done. I know it's pretty overwhelming. I think, like even when I came to Crime Stoppers, I couldn't believe how complex it is, how the machine runs. But once you get using it, like Mark said, test it out. Report something simple, like there's a bicycle on the corner that you believe stolen. Try it out. Get familiar with it. Call us. Submit it online. We do have social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, also LinkedIn, and as well as we have a podcast. So when you're stuck in some traffic, turn on the podcast, have a listen. We have some pretty interesting topics, from human trafficking, all the way to auto, car thefts, etc. We love it if you could follow us, and of course share it as well. So I would say that would be a good thumbs up. This is an example of some of the social media that we create here. We try and make it as engaging as possible to bring it forward to where social media is now. So we'd love it if you could follow us, like us, and I think you will, because I'm feeling a lot of love in this room because you're so tentative. But how do you contact Crime Stoppers? Quite simple. Phone number's here, as well as 222tips.com, and you just click on the red rectangle there, and that will bring you to the portal to submit online. As I mentioned, over 200 languages as well. So if you have a relative that doesn't speak English that well, you know, talk to them in their language. Mention that we have the capability to still help them. And that is about it. So as we mentioned, we'll be here for the rest of the evening to answer any questions. Thank you so much for being tentative and engaging, and you've been a great audience. Thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, you've given us a lot of examples and details of the mechanics, but what it does for me is it just creates a lot of trust. I truly believe that you guys are committed to anonymity, and I love some of the very, what I would call almost pedestrian examples. A lost bike, somebody who's, because we have a lot of, there's a lot of petty crime that goes on, and you don't feel, well, it's not homicide, it's not drug dealing, so what do I do?
Right.
So I think those are great examples of a resource that we can turn to. And I myself have reported crimes and I've had a moment of pause. If this goes somewhere, that party is going to someday know who I am. And it has given me a moment of pause.
Yeah.
And so knowing that this resource is available to all of us, I think it's phenomenal. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem, Jason. And that brings up a good point too. I know sometimes when I get in the community, some people are saying, "Oh, I don't want to waste the police officer's time to worry about like the bicycle that's possibly stolen on the street corner." But by sending it to Crime Stoppers, we'll make sure it gets sent to, in this case, 12th Division, so officers can go take a look. Maybe it's going to be a neighborhood officer, maybe it's going to be a crime prevention officer. They'll come and they'll take a look and go from there. Okay?
Just a quick example, just less than a week ago, there was a Crime Stopper.
Yeah, because we got a camera.
Come to the front.
Everybody knows Alex?
Yes, our neighborhood officer.
Yeah.
There you are.
I'm talking to you, sir.
So just a quick example, that's pretty much tagging into the Crime Stopper. Less than a week ago, we had a Crime Stopper hit. It was coming from our field intelligence officer of our division. Passed on to us. It was about the vehicle that's more likely stolen at Crossroads Plaza. We attended. It was stolen. The vehicle was recovered. Right on, and it came from the Crime Stoppers. So it is actually working. Yeah. So just keep doing what you're doing, and it's really gonna be helping us and helping your community.
While our gender gets set up, you have to remember, as much as you think that maybe that bicycle theft is not worthwhile, crime is transient. So, if someone's involved in the criminal element or world, they may be doing something, it's not just about the city of Toronto, but it's right across, right? As you can see, this program is global. And they're gonna follow the money, they're gonna follow the turf. At the end of the day, we wanna be helpful to other regions, right? It affects everyone. So take the time, if you see something, report it, right?
And just to build off the bicycle example, you may not think it's very important, but who's to say that a homicide took place and the suspect was seen riding off on a purple bicycle? Just by chance, it's that one on the corner there. But to you, it's just a bicycle that's possibly stolen. To a homicide investigator, that's a key element. Could be fingerprints there. or serial numbers on the bottom that relate to the owner, and that could be the suspect. Right?
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. So, as Arjinder is just working out his mouse, oh, you figured it out. I can't even figure it out. It's my laptop. Okay, well, I'm going to turn over to you. You're with crime prevention and trauma police service.
Yep.
I broke into your laptop.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata, James. Thanks for inviting us. So I am the crime prevention coordinator with Toronto Police. I work out of the community partnership and engagement unit. We work out of the same unit. It's just our section's a little bit different. I coordinate the crime prevention officers there in the city. We have 16 divisions, so we have 16 different crime prevention officers. And sorry, my voice is a little. I have a little bit of cough, a little bit of cold. Hopefully my voice projects. I'm okay for now. Yeah, thank you. So part of my job is to keep up with the crime trends, get the literature and education out there for the public. A lot of the pamphlets that you see on the table, they were designed by us, and that's how we get the information out. A lot of the stuff that you'll see in the slides, they're from the pamphlets, so I know we don't have that much time. I'll try to go through it. A lot of the information and questions you may have, they're in the pamphlets or something specific about yourself, about your safety, your house. Feel free, and I'll answer the questions. So, crime prevention. We spoke about this before. Who's responsible for crime prevention?
Everybody.
Oh, someone gets a prize.
Again.
Oh, it's not a vote?
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, blue star. There you go.
You got a vote.
Yeah, that's right. That's everyone's responsible. And before that, we're going to talk about our personal safety. For us to be aware of our surroundings, we got to make sure that you're safe. You're safe in the community, right? So how do we feel safe? We plan ahead. You're aware, and you trust your instincts. You trust your gut. A lot of us police officers, this is what we go by. We get to a situation, we get called to a radio call. Someone's, to be a dynamic situation where we are aware of our surroundings, and 90% of the time we go with our gut. If it feels wrong, it's wrong. So a lot of that that's personal safety, right? So you plan ahead. If you're driving, you're gonna put your address into Waze. If you're going somewhere for the first time, you're gonna leave a lot of. If it's gonna take 10 minutes to get there, you're gonna be 10 minutes early, right? How does it feel when you go out to, say, you're going to an appointment and you're walking, and maybe the neighborhood is not as, and how does it feel when you're late? And where's your attention? Your attention's on the appointment, right? Are you aware of your surroundings? How aware are you? We're not really thinking about, maybe there's someone far enough distance that's stalking me, or is gonna maybe try to sweat burst or something. We don't think about those things. We think about, So plan ahead, be aware, and trust your instincts. So a little bit about a lot of the things we're gonna talk about. We know this. Sometimes we get complacent. Officers do it, everyone in their job, mundane, it becomes, and awareness is key, right? The more you're aware, the more prepared you are, right? So take a quick look at your local news, maybe if you're part of a chat that involves your neighbors, look at your chat, see what's going on in your neighborhood, talk to your neighbors. I know in their presentation, the Crime Stoppers, and James was talking about, it's about talking to your neighbors. You gotta talk to everybody. That's how you get to know what's going on in your neighborhood, right? So, and this goes for whether you're walking to the bus stop, you're walking to your job, or wherever you're headed to the gym, the salon, hair salon, you're driving, you're taking the bus. You have to take into the fact that how's the weather gonna be outside? Is it gonna be dark or light, right? It's gonna be daylight outside, it's gonna be darker outside. Where am I going? Is the neighborhood well lit? Are there suspicious entities that are lurking outside? Is there someone been sitting in their car for, say that you're leaving your house and someone's been sitting in their car for a while? Maybe ask your neighbors, talk to your neighbors. Maybe you don't know what's going on. Maybe someone is, oh, I saw this person, I saw a passenger go out and they went to so-and-so's house. Okay, they're maybe visiting someone in the neighborhood. How better do you feel, right? A little bit about street safety, and we know this, folks. Just a little bit of a refresher, right? And try to keep your distance when you're out there. Try not to get too close to people. We get trained on, if you're talking to someone, don't step up right close to them. You give yourself distance, so you get time and distance to react just in case something bad happens, right? Whether someone goes for your purse or your wallet, or someone, sometimes they might want to get assaulted. Anything can happen. Just give yourself some distance between you and that person. Right? So, keep your valuables spread out in different pockets. I only ask that because, we see it in the movies, but pickpockets are a real thing. People, this is their daily thing. They'll go out and they'll pick out your purse. We have things, we have a technology where, not us, the bad guys have developed a technology where we use our debit cards and our credit cards. We use that technology. There is a device out there that records this. So I can tap your purse while you do have that tap technology on your credit card, and guess who's gonna get that information? I am, with the device on there, right? So that's part of the reason why we tell you that, just to keep your distance and have things in different pockets. Be vigilant, right? This is more for the younger crowd. I know headphones are a big thing when you're crossing the street. And it's a pet peeve of mine when I see headphones and you're Tim Hortons parking lot, or Tim Hortons line up and someone's I'm here mixing. You see the person with the headphones on, just minding their cracking ear, right? So you know your surroundings, you know what's going on. You hear the tires screeching. God forbid you might hear those gunshots, right? If you're in that situation. Right? So, and be aware of distractions. If you're being followed, I have another prize in my pocket. What are you gonna do? We're on the street out here, you're being followed, you think you're being followed. What are we gonna do? This is during the daytime. Okay, all right. Maybe we're not as confident as you are, right? What are we gonna do?
I've gone into a store,
Yeah?
when I was being followed and then I
Perfect.
pretended I knew the cashier.
Okay. Yeah, no, two good answers. two good answers. I'm gonna give you, oh, nice catch. All right.
Awesome. Nephew will love that thing.
The only thing was taking out your cell phone is that
They're
beware that.
data keys, sorry, they're data keys, they're not toys.
Oh, they're data keys,
Brilliant
okay, it's
data
too
Yeah,
bad.
sorry, I forgot to mention. It's a USB key, so it lights up when you play on it. That bit of storage. Sorry to up your volume. I apologize, right?
How many do you have? You have one person?
I don't have one for everybody. They are expensive.
Hey, everybody should get
Yeah.
one.
Can we get an increase in our budget?
I did increase your budget
Oh,
last
God,
year.
well, you're-
Take your picture.
Thank you for that. It's very important. And just to address your comment there about the cell phone, just be prepared. If you are gonna pull up your cell phone, that might invoke a negative reaction out of that person. Just prepare to what may come next. So, But that's a really good point where you go into a business, you let the person know that, hey, I think I'm being followed, and then perhaps they might take steps on maybe locking the door, calling the police. So, okay.
You didn't mention RF liners in your wallet that you weren't traveling.
That as well. We had a small campaign a while back, and I had those RFID wallets. Maybe I should have brought some of those. And they block out the radio signal. So you're taking public transit. If you're traveling alone, or if you're traveling late at night, you can sit close to the front, sit close to the driver, so the driver knows what's going on. His attentiveness compared to from the front to the back, he can look in the rearview mirror, but he's not going to be able to listen to the conversations, right? And if you hear that something's about to go off, or there's a conversation being had and something's about to happen, the driver's aware, the driver will be able to stop. There's a request to stop program. A lot of us haven't taken TTC. It's from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. and you can request your own stop between the stops if you feel safer at getting on the location. Right? Avoid displaying your valuables. That goes without saying. If you need emergency assistance, there's that yellow strip that's in the TTC buses, and now a small part of our subway has cellular service. I know not the entire subway because we do go through tunnels then, but there's the core that has the subway service. I'm not sure what the boundaries are for that. You can Google it. It's on the TTC website, and they have extended their cellular some. And for the Uber and taxis, make sure your door's locked when you're taking them. Right? You don't know, a lot of us are on social media now, a lot of us see those memes or those videos where you might get someone random trying to open the door and jump in the car. How safer are you going to feel when the doors are locked? I have taxi scams up there, but these are not more fake taxis. Yes, be aware of fake taxis. You go with a reputable company, but taxi scams are when, if you're walking down the road and you have a driver pull up next to you and the passenger gets out and they pretend that they are the passenger of the taxi cab and they don't take, the cab doesn't take cash. And they'll ask, hey, can you pay for your debit? They'll slip you a $20 bill or say, hey, can you pay for this? And meanwhile, they'll copy your debit card or your credit card information, and now they have access to your account. Those are taxi cams. I've included some literature at the back regarding frauds. If you have any specific questions, I was in the fraud office for a bit, so I was privy to a lot of different types of frauds that are going on out there. So if you have some information or a question, I can entertain that. Uber, when you take Uber does a pretty good job of providing safety tips on their app. They have their own safety portal. There's a way to call 911. There's a way to report the ride. I think they had something. I think Uber Teens another thing.
Right.
If you have kids, your young kids that are taking Uber by themselves, there's mechanisms regarding that. Protecting your vehicle, auto theft. We know it's an epidemic, right? So these are some of the things that you can do to slow a motivated offender down. It may not stop the person, because that person who's there to steal the car, they're going to be prepared, right? We see time and time again, we'll watch video. You see steering wheel locks. They'll go through steering wheel locks and they'll bring that saw. And a lot of these cordless tools now, they're pretty powerful. So they're going to go through that gauge steel within seconds. So you can implement these things. Ignition kill switch, a hood lock, put bollards in their driveway, Faraday box. There are ways around them, but these are things that are going to slow them down.
What's a ball?
A bollard? A bollard is those steel structures that come out of the ground.
So, you know those
Yes.
cement blocks?
The cement
Yeah.
blocks. You'll see them at park entrances. They're
Yeah.
painted yellow.
Costco is selling
concrete.
them now that are stainless steel that have a key.
There you go. Right, so Costco's selling them now. If your landscape allows it, that bollard's not gonna be of any use, right? So,
Yeah, let's
Right.
drive you over the line.
exactly. They're gonna drive over your lawn, or they're gonna find a place. They're gonna
Wheelchair.
find a way to get through it. If not, they're gonna try to go through right through that. So. And protecting your house. So there's a discipline out there called the SEPTED, right? So it's a crime prevention theory. This I teach to the officers with the Toronto Police, so they can conduct what's called a SEPTED audit, safety audit for any sort of, it could be a house, it could be a commercial building, and they reassess the security, the safety of your home, your residence, your business. Reassess your doors, your locks, your windows. How to reassess your door, have a solid core door, make sure your door is not flimsy, make sure the structure around your door is not flimsy. The locks, make sure you're using a deadbolt lock. If the bolt that's coming out of your door has to be at least an inch long, and it goes within that door an inch, because we, as officers, sometimes we have to make unannounced entries, and we do have to kick some doors, and the ones that have longer bolts, we find that it takes a longer time to get to them, right? So you want that bolt to go in more than an inch, or at least an inch, and you want the screws that goes on the faceplate of that bolt at least 3 inches, right? So, and remember, it's the structure that's around your door, that's how it's gonna hold the force. If the structure is good, it is gonna take some time, and within that time, hopefully someone gets detected and the police are called, right? Reassess your lights, cameras. An offender's gonna go where the lights are not. It's pretty simple. If there's bright lights, and remember to direct your lights to that entrance. Don't be that neighbor where you're gonna have that bright light and it's gonna shine through the bedroom, and now you're in a neighborhood dispute, right? So make sure that light is directed on either the entrance, the exit, or even the windows, right? So, alarm system. I would say with alarm systems, just make sure that it's audible. You have an audible alarm, so neighbors would be able to hear if someone were to broke into your house and forgot their keys. And landscaping, again, I spoke of SEPTED. We do have a pamphlet back there that explains a little bit of the philosophies of SEPTED, and you can implement that. When you're going on vacation, make sure you set your lights on a timer, and have neighbors collect your mail, right? Because what does that show? Someone is there, the house is being lived in, right?
I'd like to say one thing about alarm systems.
Yep.
The wireless ones can be defeated by jammers. And if you have a real expensive car or expensive house, they're useless because they do get jammed and you will lose your vehicle and other valuable property. Have a wired system if you can afford it.
Yeah. And these are some of the things you live and you learn, and unfortunately it's not until you become a victim that you learn certain things may not.
But also park your car in the garage. If you have an apartment, you have a garage.
Yeah, that, again, that'll slow down an offender.
Yeah.
We've seen videos out there that they break into garages.
Yeah, but you're
They'll go
making
right
a
through
lot
the
of
door.
noise,
You're
right?
making a lot of
Yeah.
noise,
Yeah.
that's right. And also my advice is not to approach them. Monitor, call 911, depends how confident you are. You live in an apartment condo, and we know this, management tells you all the time, I'm sure. Don't buzz and let people in, don't buzz and let strangers in, make sure the main doors are locked. If you see them open, a lot of times we get into apartments, we see the doors are ajar, or if there's a rock, or if there's a piece of wood that's leaving it ajar, kick it away. This is your home, right? You have the right to feel safe. Make sure these doors are locked. So, don't rely on chain locks. They don't. You go into a lot of homes where there's chain locks. It's zero security. It doesn't take much to go through it. Maybe just a peace of mind for you, but chain locks don't really serve a lot of security. If you lose your keys, especially when you're in a condo, have your lock rekeyed, because you don't know who had hands on their on the keys and who's going to target, may be able to target your apartment. And we spoke about this, cancel or redirect your mail or deliveries and have a neighbor collect your payments. Point of sale theft, anybody from the business community here? Right. So 12, I know 12 Vision had a big rash of point of sale theft from businesses. We've seen a slight decline, but we still are seeing some break-ins that involve point of sales. Is there something different that you're doing?
I am, so instead of cashing out every night, because business is, slow, so it's easy just to leave it for a couple of days and then cash out twice a week, say. And now I'm doing it every day, so that there's nothing left in the terminal.
Yeah.
So if they did take the terminal, it's already canceled, it's already, there's nothing there.
And how did you take steps and did you call the company? Did you call the point of sale company to get this education? Did you look online?
No, when the police suggested that,
Okay.
Instead of, like every night you should be, closing out your debit machine or credit machine,
Yeah.
so that it's wiped clean. And, if they tried to take ours, it would be very difficult, just
Yeah.
because of the way it's set up.
The way it's mounted, the way it's set up?
Yeah. it would just
And
be
do you have
hard.
limits?
Sorry?
Do you have refund limits that are set up on your debit machine?
It's generally like to make a sale, it's $250 or $150, depending on what the card is. We generally try not to do huge refunds on the machine, but since we're closing out every night now, then
Yeah.
it shouldn't be an issue.
And that's another thing I recommend, just have it hidden. They'll see them,
Should lock it
not
up.
the same day, but lock them up.
Lock them up.
Or have them hidden,
Yeah.
so you're not a target, right?
You can't see our machine.
Okay.
Like our machine is behind a barrier. Like it's like this, and it's in a corner. So it'd be very hard for them to see it right away. And we have that sign on our phone.
Yeah. So, like I said before, when it became a crime trend, we did have the pamphlet made, and we have these stickers made now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have one of those stickers that
Yeah,
on
yeah.
your,
And
and
a lot of
that's
us
just,
do now.
So we've had quite a few businesses, not in Weston, but in the Maple Leaf area, like we've had one business broken into 3 times and so we had the police go there and ask them to lock up the machine. So in the east end of the ward, there's a lot of, yeah. But in this area, we haven't had any, I don't know, if we've had any.
Yeah.
Most of them are up in the Keel,
Yeah.
the Maple Leaf, that Keel Lawrence area where there's been a lot of robberies for the machines.
You know what, it was quite a bit, it was Rusty Big.
Rustic Bakery was broken into 3 times in 3 consecutive days.
now, the education is out there.
Yeah.
People are heeding what we have to tell them.
Also, having your cash register and your terminal within visibility of the street, it makes it even more tempting.
Easy target,
for people
right?
to break in, like, so ours is not visible from our front door. Like, it would be hard for somebody to know where it is. So, and
Another thing that we spoke of, talk to your neighbors. It's really important. Build that trust with your neighbor, and they'll begin to notice what's normal behavior versus abnormal, versus unusual. So-and-so, Councillor, we spoke about the neighborhood program that it was the neighborhood watch.
Yeah, that was years ago.
That was years ago. It's defunct now. But these are some of the things. You want to get to know your neighbor. You want to get to know, the habits, the routines. If you see something that's out of the ordinary now, you'll be able to pick it up. And get to know your community officers. That's another thing. So I know a lot of the communities, neighborhoods within Toronto, they don't have neighborhood officers, but we do have neighborhood officers. And your boundary, are you tied to the boundary, or will you go out and?
No, it's something that happens, for example, the Mount Dennis doesn't have an assigned neighborhood. However, it's all of a sudden, the crime starts to ramp up over there. We have great management. Our staff sergeant and sergeants are really good at monitoring and being in contact with the business DIAs or the community over there, and they'll tell us. I mean, can you guys spend some time in this particular area? I know you have stuff to do in Weston, but can you go to Denard, for example?
So we have 3 neighborhood areas where we have neighborhood officers. So we have one in Weston, and then we have Rockwood. So we have 3 different ones. So we were assigned additional neighborhood officers with budget.
And this is just a website, the way that you can find it's called Find My NCO. You go on Google, type in Find My NCO, it's gonna take you to this website, and you'll be able to see who's your NCO for your neighborhood. You have the contact information there. We have our officers, connected officer phones, and you'll be able to see this. And just the different ways of contacting us. Obviously 911, our non-emergency number is 222. If you don't want to be as out there, you don't want to give your information, then you heard our presentation from Crime Stoppers, and you know how to roll it.
Can I ask about the 808 number? Have you got more operators now than you have in the last 2 years? Because sometimes you can be on hold for an hour.
So our chief did try to make, they try to fix, like we are hiring more officers, dispatchers. The problem's being fixed. It's gonna take a while. Right. Yeah, like I know it was 28 minutes before, the 28 minutes or 22 minutes, but the waiting time has been reduced. It's
So
been
what the
reduced.
police services is trying to do is trying to get some of these non-emergency calls, like if it's a health issue, that we've set up a pilot in the city. So there's another number that you call if there's a mental issue or someone's having.
That's 411.
Yeah.
211? Okay.
211. So that's why we're trying to get just the police number. It's just people if it's an emergency. So this way they don't, you don't have to make these calls, and you have.
Well, my concern is when people have to wait, and this has been going on for a number of years, and I run it through Europe, even back when Tory was our mayor. But you would be on hold for an hour. People get frustrated, then start calling 911, which they shouldn't be doing, and it would tie up 911.
Are you talking 211?
I'm talking about 808-2222.
Oh, the
Yeah.
non-emergency.
And you get
number.
the dispatcher, and she'll put you on hold for an hour.
I'm going to pause this there. I think that point's well made, so thank you for that. And not that it fully
No,
answers
I
the
know.
question, but we are going to talk for a moment about the who do I call list. We've got 30 copies on the table in the back. This is like the most requested document in the community in the last 6 months. It is everything from when to call non-emergency, when to call 211, 311, Toronto Hydro. I think we're going to be adding Crime Stoppers to that. And we've got the cell phone numbers for our community officers. So I don't know about you guys, but if there's a problem and I don't know who to call, but it is a police matter, I call the community officers. It's amazing. It is the most amazing service. We are so lucky to have you folks working with us. So thank you for that. So that list is in the back of the room, and I really encourage you to get yourselves familiar with it. Take a copy of it. Every time we print these off, I don't print enough. So thank you very much for the presentation. Okay, so we are going to move real quickly through the question of what can we do. So when we started taking a look at this issue of what creates a feeling of safety, what we discovered was, and there's a bunch of research on it, much smarter people than I have gone through this, there are like hundreds of different variables that actually contribute to the perception of safety. Because remember, when we perceive safety, we behave in a way that we're activating our streets, we're looking people in the eye, we're starting to show our care for the community, and that chases away the criminal element, right? So perception of safety, when I went through all the research, these are the ones that really stood out and I thought were relevant for Weston. When there's litter and trash, it suggests that people don't care about this community and it can be taken advantage of. When the properties are greened up and planters are planted, it shows again that the place is taken care of and people start to, I even noticed it in the park. I live right next to a park. If we pick up the garbage every day, people collect their garbage and they put it away. If we leave that garbage sitting in the park even one day, the next person shows up and they just keep leaving more and more garbage because it becomes conspicuous that the place is taken care, that you become conspicuous when you litter when the place is regularly cleaned up. So that's about greening. Visibility, having clear sight lines. This is really important on Weston Road. We're always trying to encourage the businesses to create clear sight lines both out of their stores and into their stores. So you're walking down the street, you feel like you can see into the stores and that you're connected with the community. You also feel more comfortable going into the store. I won't walk into a store if I don't see what's on the other side of the door. There's a bunch of businesses that have been in Weston for a long time. I've never gone in them and I've lived here 25 years because it won't go through a door when I can't see what's on the other side. And I know that the police, there's a whole separate protocol about going and addressing a complaint or an issue that's going on in a business if they can't see into that building, if they can't see into that business. It's a different protocol that if they can see right through, hey, it's I know that the store owner, I know that resident, let me go in there, I can start to address it. Graffiti, again, it suggests the place is not taken care of, so it's really important that we stay on top of graffiti. It's something the WVRA has talked about even last night, and I know the BIA has a program to tackle graffiti as well. Maintenance, repairs, sidewalks, 311. I'm going to ask Dave to step up in a moment and talk about that. And community events. I know it seems weird to talk about community events when we're talking about crime and safety, but again, the more we're activating our streets, the more we're activating with the people in our community, the safer we feel, and that chases away the criminal element. There's a fallacy that I've heard as I talk to people, this is my own little marketing thing, I call it the 90-10 fallacy. A lot of people think that 90% of keeping a community safe is the job of the police. But if you think about it, yeah, they have a very important job. They got the handcuffs, they got the badge, they do citations. But if you think about it, by the time the police are called, there's probably already a victim. There's certainly somebody who has felt unsafe and has engaged the police. So I like to encourage us to flip it and think that 90% of creating a safer community for us and our families is on us. The police will always play an important role, but we have to take on that responsibility first. And that's really what today's about. You guys know that, that's why you're here, so thank you. I also say that out of every person that is here, there's about 10 others out there in your high-rise, on your block, who are just as interested, but they are smart enough to keep their evenings to themselves. They don't want to come out and spend time in these groups, but they will engage if you ask them. And so we're going to be sharing in a moment a ton of ideas that I think if you broach it with your neighbors, you're going to find that there's the power of 10 out there. So I mentioned the Who Do I Call list. It's at the back of the room. Please make sure you get a copy of it. And thank you, Suri, for making copies every time we have a meeting. I'd like to now introduce you to Dave Bennett. He's going to tell you for just 2 or 3 minutes a little project that he took on, and I think it's a great little case study, and then we're going to talk about a bunch of the other ideas. Dave.
Thanks for having my shoes up there.
They're relevant. They're relevant to this.
Yeah, and so as probably most of you know, I'm a family guy. We've got 4 children, and it all started there with a lot of nightlights, because it was just, well, that's what you do when you have little kids, so you're not foaming around and finding them. And then that kind of moved on outside, where we had a porch light that was on, and we shut it off when we went to bed. But you know what? That's not enough. That's not enough. So now we've got a gate light, and we've got a porch light that stays on all the time, and it's just convenient as heck. I'm not tripping on anything. Doesn't matter what time I'm getting home. It's always on, dusk till dawn. And you know, to get rid of the dad bod, I started to do steps in the spring, and I noticed some street lights were out, and reached out to the helpful councillor, and I got.
Slides are there.
Pardon me?
Your slides are there.
You really? Are you serious? There we go.
There's a
Yeah.
map for the streetlights.
Yeah, and so I walked that area and reported streetlights that were out, and I was really surprised that it's not a city thing. It is Toronto Hydro, and so they have a nice app, and I took photos as I went along because I didn't want to slow down on my steps. And somebody noticed my project, even though I didn't tell you. We were talking, and he's just like, I drove down Weston Road, it was blinding. What? Like, I just couldn't believe how bright it was. It was like, yeah, I'm working on a little project. It was like, how many streetlights? Well, that doesn't matter. But
How many streetlights?
on just Weston, for the whole project?
Or the whole project?
60 streetlights. Okay, and well, just because I had to do some digging. I'm part of the where we're dropping a lot of call letters, WVRA, Weston Village Residents Association, and I didn't know that that's a Toronto Hydro, right? Thank you for your office.
And the numbers on the pole.
Yep, the numbers on the pole, and they, you know, they want, and if you have a street light that's out, there's a QR code there, but you can easily Google Toronto Hydro street light map and zoom in, and it shows you where all the lights are, and you can see where one, and if somebody's already reported it out, it'll tell you it's already reported, and I'm glad to say that it's 2 business days and they're replaced. And it's amazing. Sherry, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming, what I've noticed is that lights are still on, like middle of the day, and you've got I guess it'd be the same thing, right?
Yep, so they have about 4 or 5 categories, and that's one of them. Yeah, and it's super helpful. So
It's starting to change over the LEDs now too.
Yep, a lot of the heads got changed. Yes, sir.
Lights in the parks.
Yeah, and so they're also on that map.
In the parks?
Yep.
Because I reported one to parks, the way they say it reported last year, and it's still not posted in the park. There's
So-
no post number, you have to ID it.
Yeah.
Parks has a method of reporting lights out, but
Yeah.
nothing's been done with it.
Then I would call the council's office.
And a picture's 1,000 words because.
If it's a park, then it would be the city, it would be Toronto Hydro. So just report it to my office. Don't call 311, call my office. 311, you're waiting weeks.
You heard it here. You heard it here. Thank you, Dave, and I wanted him to share that because it's just such a great example. Nobody knew he was doing this until I saw Weston Road lit up like a Christmas tree, and I realized, and then 60+ lights, it's incredible. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna download just a bunch of ideas. Just see if there's one idea that clicks for you, that resonates with you, something you think you might want to try, okay? But I'm gonna go through quite a few. So they're kind of separated into business, neighborhood streets, and high rises, because we know there's folks from different constituents here. And the first one started with, the councillor had a community meeting in 1901. That's a Toronto community housing building that we're in right now. It is 4th or 5th worst in terms of social issues, okay, in the Toronto community housing group of buildings. This is a challenged building. And as a Weston Village Residents Association, we didn't want to just shoo it away and complain about it. We've been trying to embrace it. We have a whole slew of activities that we're doing to try to bring this building back into the fold. What happens to this building is what's going to happen to Weston. So we're going to really stay on it. Now, what we are working with them on right now is creating a Crime Stoppers program for this building. The gold standard will be, is if one day you walk into this lobby and you see a sign like this, welcome to 1901 Weston Road, home to 450 residents, 450 Crime Stoppers. If that is written in the main lobby when you walk into this building, I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot of people who are looking to cause trouble who are like, this is a building full of snitches. I'm not why would I want to do something in this building? I'm gonna go to another building. So this is an idea that we're starting to share with the various building communities. And if you are a tenant and you want to share this, I know the councillor and I and the Residents Association would be more than happy, possibly working with these guys, to meet with your fellow residents and help put a program together. And there's a whole slew of little ideas, very easy ideas that lead up to this sign. But this is the shining example at the end of what I think it could look like. All right, so these are some of the ideas that we want to think about in your neighborhood or your businesses or in the high rises. These ideas apply to all. First of all is knowing who to call. And this page, I would happily send this to anybody if you want to tailor it to your street or tailor it to your building. We were at 5 Bellevue and somebody said our packages keep getting stolen. And there's a specific phone number that they can call so they can find out the security cameras and the timestamp so that that can start an investigation so they get their packages back. And 9 times out of 10, it's somebody on the floor who's doing it. But this can be tailored to your individual building or to your street or to the block where you run your business. So I really encourage you to look at that. The other one is the buddy system. There's a lot of, I mean, if you're a homeowner, you probably know, I like to get to know a few of my neighbors. I got somebody I can call if there's a problem. But it doesn't always happen in condos or apartments where things are a little bit more anonymous. So we're encouraging people, find a buddy, somebody you can exchange information with if you're comfortable, so that if there's a power outage or if there's a ruckus on the floor, you feel like you've got somebody to reach out to. Some can create walking groups so that from the bus stop to the building and back again, or making sure that the kids get to school together. These are ways that we can create more safety and community together. And then also creating a safety audit idea. So this is about once every 2, and this is based off of what the councillor did here in the community, is every 6 months or every year, the residents of a tower or the people living on a street in a block or a group of businesses can get together and do a safety audit of their area, looking at lighting, looking at potholes, looking at visible targets, things that look like they could attract garbage, landscaping, whatever. And I'm sure our NCO officers would be more than happy to meet with a business or a group of residents who say, how could we do a safety audit on our street? And then you do it every 6 months or you do it every year. And if you need 311 or the councilor support to get some changes made, you need your superintendent at your building involved to make some changes, now you've got an action plan and you can engage them. Other ideas, porch light campaign. In some communities, I picked this up out of the US, in some communities they do a porch light campaign. They might turn all their light bulbs out of the front door green, say, or blue or whatever. And it's really a social, an awareness campaign, so that people are walking up and down the street going, what's going on with King Street? Why are the lights all green? And then you can have some signage that says, well, because we're a Crime Stopper street. We are a very vigilant, caring community, and we're keeping an eye out for things. It builds awareness. You could do this on Weston Road for a month. I mean, I think you could.